Hello, my brothers and sisters. Last time we have studied the image of Daniel 2 and what the different pieces are. This week we will be studying chapter 7 of the book of Daniel, the four beasts. So let's get into it. The seventh chapter of the book of Daniel records an unusual vision that he received in the first year of the Babylonian king Belshazzar. The vision predicts major world empires and events from the time of Daniel to the second coming of Christ. The vision ended with Daniel saying, "My thoughts greatly troubled me, and my countenance changed, but I kept the matter in my heart." What did Daniel see? In verse 1, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head while on his bed. This is the same expression that was used in Daniel chapter 2 verse 28 concerning King Nebuchadnezzar's dream and visions that came in the second year of his reign. The two sets of dreams and visions were about 50 years apart, but as we will see, they both describe four world empires. The vision of the four beasts and the little horn found in Daniel 7 reveals more information about the same four empires that are first described in Nebuchadnezzar's dream of a great image. In the book of Daniel chapter 7 verses 3 and 4, Daniel records, "And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it." In verse 17 we are told, "Those great beasts which are four kings which arise out of the earth." The lion was symbolic of the kingdom of Babylon, and the man's heart was that of its most notable king, Nebuchadnezzar, who is written about considerably in the first four chapters of Daniel. The lion symbol was a characteristic of Babylon, especially in Nebuchadnezzar's time, when the Ishtar Gate entrance was adorned on either side with a long procession of yellow lions on blue glazed brick, fashioned in high relief. The eagle's wings were plucked off the lion, were symbolic of Nebuchadnezzar's time of insanity, when he was humbled by God to learn that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men. Daniel chapter 4 verses 30 to 33 says, "The king spake and said, Is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power, and for the honor of my majesty?" While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven, saying, "O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee, and they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will." The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. Nebuchadnezzar ruled from Babylon to Asia Minor, and from the Caspian Sea to Egypt. Biblically, his most notable conquest was that of the nation of Judah, with Daniel being the most famous captive from that nation. Following his father's death, Nebuchadnezzar reigned as king of Babylon for 43 years, from 604 to 561 BC. After his death, Babylon continued as a strong empire until 539 BC, when it was conquered by the second rising power in Daniel's vision, the Medo-Persian Empire. Daniel chapter 7 verse 5 says, "And I behold another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh." This beast being raised up on one side represents the Persians being greater than the Medes in this federated empire. This is made plain to Daniel in a vision 2 years later when he sees a ram with 2 horns, one being higher than the other. Daniel was told by the angel Gabriel that the ram represents the kings of Media and Persia. The 3 ribs that are devoured represent 3 empires conquered by Persia's first great king, Cyrus the Great, and his son. Cyrus came to power in 558 BC and conquered Asia Minor in 546 BC, Babylon in 539 BC, and Egypt in 525 BC. The Medo-Persian Empire lasted for 200 years, and under later kings expanded to Greece in the west and to India in the east. At one point, the Persian Empire covered parts of 3 continents, Asia, Africa, and Europe. But, like the Chaldean Empire, the Persian Empire finally came to an end. And a new beast was rising in the west, and its appointed time had come. Daniel chapter 7, verse 6 says, "After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. And the beast had also 4 heads, and the dominion was given to it. As with the second beast, the third beast is clearly identified by the angel Gabriel. It was Greece. And the first king was Alexander the Great. After his untimely death in 323 BC, his empire was divided into 4 smaller kingdoms, represented by the 4 heads of the leopard and the 4 horns of the goat in Daniel chapter 8. The symbol of the leopard with 4 wings portrays the swiftness of Alexander's sudden rise and conquest of the Persian Empire from 334 to 331 BC. After his death, several years of struggle ensued that resulted in the division of his empire into 4 kingdoms. The new kingdoms were Greece and Macedon, Thrace and Asia Minor, Middle East Asia and Egypt, Palestine. The last 2 were ruled by Seleucus, who began the Seleucid Empire, and Ptolemy, who began the Ptolemaic Empire. Approximately 2 centuries later, the 4th beast conquered all 4 of these kingdoms and expanded far beyond the lands conquered by the previous beasts. Next, in Daniel chapter 7 and verse 7, we read, "After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. The devouring teeth of iron and the trampling feet correspond with Nebuchadnezzar's vision of the 4th kingdom being strong as iron, breaking in pieces and crushing all others. When the Roman Empire came to power under the Caesars, it devoured, broke in pieces, and trampled the residue of its enemies with its feet, as was described in Daniel's vision in Daniel 7. The 4th beast is quite different from the previous beast in that it has 10 horns. Daniel 7:24 says, "The 10 horns are 10 kings who shall arise from this kingdom." Historically, these revivals began to rise after the fall of Rome in AD 476, with the later ones under a new name, the Holy Roman Empire. This leads to one other unusual feature of the prophecy of the 4th beast. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 8 says, "I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things." This little horn represents a powerful religious system that would align with the last 7 of the 10 political horns that were to arise from the fall of Rome. This coordination between church and state produced what ultimately became known as the Holy Roman Empire. In verses 21 through 22 and verse 25, this little horn makes war against the saints, speaks pompous words against God, and intends to change times and laws, and persecutes the saints for a time and times and half a time. But using the day for a year principle of Numbers 14:34 and Ezekiel 4:6, that's 1,260 years. Evidence of this persecution can be seen through the centuries as hundreds and thousands of people in Europe lost their lives through the inquisitions of the Roman Catholic judicial system. They were tortured for their confessions of being heretics and killed because they would not submit to the authority and doctrines of the Roman Catholic Church and the Pope. Though the inquisitions of that time were abolished, the Bible indicates that religious persecutions from the little horn will come back and result in the death of many before the return of Christ. Daniel also saw the conclusion concerning the little horn, that when Jesus Christ returns, the court shall be seated, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it forever. The vision of Daniel 7 could not end with any greater news. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 27 says, "And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him." Friends, very soon from now, Jesus will come and destroy this wicked priesthood that Satan has set up on this earth. So let us be prepared. This is John Tinsley with Everlasting Rock Ministries, and always remember, the truth never fails. God bless you. Have a beautiful evening.